Matt Kazemi here, General Manager at Ziplend. Purpose of this video is to go over the top 10 things that a loan officer should look for from the time you take your application all the way to funding, just to ensure a smooth process. So the first thing, making sure that you have a very clean loan application so that the spelling of their names, the address, property, taxes, HOA, the property type, their income, everything on the application you want it to be very, very accurate. So if the client did it on their own, you still want to run it through your QC and make sure that everything is dialed in. So as far as the application, we want to make sure that's very, very clean. Secondly, make sure that you request disclosures to go out the same day that you trigger TRID. So, when you collect those 6 items that trigger TRID, we want to get disclosures out the same day. Now, you can either send them out yourself if you've trained, or you can have our processing do it for you by sending an email to processing@ziplend.com. The third thing is making sure disclosures come back the same day that you send them, because market changes. So as long as you notify us by 6 p.m. the same day, we can actually lock your loan for you with your disclosures being back. So make sure you follow up with the customers. They know how to go in there and actually sign those disclosures. The fourth thing, once disclosures are signed, you want to send an email to processing. So you let them know to order your title escrow, your appraisal, and request the locking of your loan. Number 5 is going to be making sure you get the client to upload all their documents needed to process their loan based on the STP checklist requirements we have. So depending on their income, if they're W-2, self-employed, retired, rental income, multiple properties, making sure you get all the mortgage statements, insurance policies, everything pertaining has to be uploaded to Ziplend within generally 72 hours of the time that they sign their disclosures. So number 6 is going to be letting processing know your file is ready to be submitted to processing. We call it STP status, submitted to processing. You can request them to run a DU-LP automated approval for you before you submit the file to them, or you can run it on your own if you're trained to do it. They'll QC your file. You should also look at the QC checklist that we sent to make sure it passes everything. Before you submit it to them, they're going to look it through as well and make sure that it's all dialed in. So number 7 is once you submitted your file to processing, which was number 6, number 7, processing is going to review everything, go over all your income docs, wait for the title report to come in. As long as title is in and the loan to value is not very, very tight, meaning it's not 80% or higher, we'll submit the file to underwriting usually within a few days. If the appraisal is tight, we do like to wait until we get the appraisal report, so we know if we need to restructure the loan before we go to underwrite. This way, your underwriting approval is much cleaner and doesn't require the loan to be reworked. Step 8 is going to be making your loan approval coming in. So as soon as your loan approval comes in, processing will reach out to you and let you know that congrats, loan's approved. Here's the conditions we need from the borrower. So some of you may want to only communicate with the borrower yourselves. Some of you want processing to reach out, and you can communicate that with our processor. Also let them know if the client prefers Podium, which is texting, phone calls, email, and what time of the day do they prefer any form of communication so that we can communicate with them very easily. We all prefer Podium, and so does processing. So once the loan's approved, the next step would be getting the closing disclosure approved. So processing is going to send out a closing disclosure. Once the approval is getting close to clear to close, you got to review that closing disclosure with a customer. Make sure they understand the payoffs. They're going to skip a mortgage payment. They'll get a refund for taxes and insurance from their current lender if they're escrowing. So if you need training how to review the closing disclosures with your clients, please let us know. So first, however many CDs you need, we'll go ahead and explain those to you, even explain to your customers on a conference call so you can listen in. Once the closing disclosure is signed, we'll wait for the clear to close. So the last step, number 10, is setting up the closing. Clear to close is in. We're going to need to coordinate with your customer and make sure they know if they're bringing any cash to close, they know. If anything's changed from the initial closing disclosure to the final one that they're going to receive with the notary, you want to make sure they know. And coordinate a time with our processing department and your customer when is a good time for them to have a notary come to their house, and explain to them that, after they sign, it takes 3 days, rescission days, and when the funding will happen. And then when disbursement happens, if they're expecting cash out or to have checks be mailed for their credit cards. Regardless, you want to make sure that on the day of funding, you do call them and congratulate them so that, when they get a social survey sent to them, you'll get good reviews. So hopefully this video is useful. We're going to be making more of these and wish you all well. Thank you. Bye-bye.